Hello, music lovers! What a wonderful world we get to share today. Thanks for being here. Today I'm going to show you my process for writing sheet music, also known as charting or notating music. Recently, I was asked to put together a morning of live music for the first ever Singalong Brunch at Becket's in Oshkosh. That meant booking a band and then playing over 2 hours of songs that would inspire a room full of music lovers to sing their hearts out, along with a few hundred of their closest friends. Luckily, I'm surrounded by some of the world's greatest musicians right here in the Fox Valley, so finding the right personnel for the band only took a couple of texts. What took a lot more time was preparing the set list and then charting out all of these songs for the band. It's important in this kind of situation that we're all on the same page as we perform these songs together. So the charts end up being sort of a roadmap that we can all follow. And even though we're all traveling in different vehicles, we can keep that musical caravan together. We were able to find a handful of songs in our collective repertoire that would work for the event, but for many of the songs we would be playing them for the very first time together at the brunch. I knew the level of professionalism that each member would bring, which in this case meant individually prepping and practicing the songs at home. I aimed to have all the charts done at least a week in advance so everybody would have time to practice and make whatever individual notes on the music that they needed to. So here it is, how I wrote the sheet music for Pink Pony Club, a song that none of us had ever played before. And at the end of the video, you'll get to see if it worked out for the band at the Singalong Brunch. Thank you.
Today is the day we celebrate
This is a program called Finale, which I first started using in college to give my compositions that professional look of standard sheet music. I've notated hundreds or maybe thousands of charts since then, mostly for myself or the many musicians who I've played with in the Smooth Operators or Fox Menagerie. But I've also done some professional notation for clients in other musical situations, and have even made sheet music of my own song available on my website over the years. This one will be a basic rhythm section chart that gives an overview of the form with maybe a few specifics and can be useful for drummers, bassists, guitarists, keyboardists, etc. So here I'm listening to the song on Spotify and then finding the tonic or home key of the song on my keyboard. G flat? Great! 6 flats in the key signature. Over time, I've developed a few templates that I almost always use when starting a new chart. One of the most important parts of writing charts for other people to read is clarity. I had to write a ton of charts, many that were confusing and led musicians astray, in order to learn what things would ultimately serve the clarity for everyone reading the music. Like many pop songs, it turns out there's a 4-chord pattern that will repeat for most of the song. And here's the broken chord ostinato pattern that begins at the 9th measure of the verse. It's fairly common in rhythmic piano parts, taking a 3-note major or minor chord and then toggling back and forth between a few of the notes, kind of like this. I'm starting to format the music right away, adding text cues like which instruments are playing during certain sections of the song. I'm also opting for 8-measure systems rather than my usual 4 measures per line, and this is because there's not a lot of specific rhythms or melodies for the rhythm section here, and ultimately my hope is to finish with a 1-page chart that is still big enough for musicians to read. Especially important because in the last 10 years there's been a near total transition from actual 8.5 by 11 paper sheet music to a digital screen version, which I'm pretty happy about. Here's an interesting synth part that begins the pre-chorus. Or is this the chorus? And now that the C flat is showing up in this synth part, I guess I should go back and be enharmonically correct, changing these B chords to C flat chords. Just a little something for all the theory nerds out there. Okay, the drummer and bassist have been waiting so patiently while the singer and pianist go on and on. But here comes the chorus and everybody in. Verse 2 has the same progression as verse 1, but now the band is all in and hitting a pair of eighth notes on beat 1 of each measure. Pom pom. Pom pom. Usually at this point in a pop song, I can start to do a little more copy pasting as the repetition kicks in and the song starts burning itself into our tender brains. Oftentimes in band charts, there'll be an instrumental section right around now after the second chorus. And this is a good time to let the rhythm section just kind of find a groove and then give different instrumentalists a chance to improvise a solo. And we'll just keep those open with the repeat signs until somebody, the band leader, will give a cue to move on to the next part. In this case, though, the guitar solo is pretty distinct, playing this 16th note pattern of descending arpeggios that I think would be nice to keep it in our live performance. When I first started charting music, I did not have a MIDI keyboard to connect to my computer like this, so I would have to click in each of these 16th notes individually and try to be so precise with my mouse and click in those tiny lines and spaces. Needless to say, melodic sections like this have gotten much easier and quicker to notate when I can play them on the keyboard and they just show up on the score instantly. And for any of you Fox Menagerie fans out there, this is the exact same MIDI keyboard that I bring for a lot of our library videos. I will also bring my portable Pro Tools rig and have some sounds specifically dialed up so I can run the keyboard into that and then out to the main mixer. This bridge sounds a lot like the intro melodically, but there is a different chord progression. The writers chose to bring back the 5 chord, the D flat chord, which hasn't been heard since that very dramatic opening piano arpeggio. And the other chords are recycled from what came before and just repositioned. This is a very common move in pop songwriting. I see it all the time when I'm teaching students Taylor Swift songs, for instance. Just take those same chords you've been using the whole song and mix them up a little bit. It's a nice way to keep the familiar tonal center while introducing just enough subconscious novelty to keep our attention a little longer. As an active songwriter, I'm always fascinated by choices other songwriters are making. We're all still searching for ways to recycle and repurpose the same raw materials that have been around for millennia of human existence, and then craft them into something that hopefully brings new light, new meaning, and new connections to our human family. Okay, in the home stretch now. At first, I added the dies al fine directive, which would technically work since it does just repeat the previous chorus and end afterwards. But since there was still space on the page, I much prefer to let the music continue in its linear progression rather than making the players skip around trying to find signs and coda markings. We have a lot of new songs to play at this gig, and again, it comes back to making these charts very clear and easy to read while playing them live. Now for the finishing touches. Spacing the systems to give each section a little visual separation. And lastly, open the PDF version in Adobe and use a highlighter to mark a few important instructions that help keep the band that much tighter on stage. Again, as Stephen Sondheim said, all in the service of clarity. So that's a pretty good example of how I write sheet music or charts for musicians to play along with. If you'd like sheet music to any of my songs that you can play along to, or just need some charts made up for yourself or your bandmates, feel free to reach out. I have my contact info in the description below. So let's take a look at the video of us playing Pink Pony Club live at the Singalong Brunch and see if everything worked out. Much love.